Welcome to Wisdom Within with Tina and Tonya. If you're done conforming to others' expectations, done suppressing your wants and needs, and done feeling like life has no meaning, and you're ready to build a supportive relationship with yourself, with your inner wisdom, address resentments and disappointments that come from suppressing those needs and wants that you have, and you're ready to transform your life from the inside out, then you're in the right place. We're going to teach you how to do this using practices that will support your mind, body, and spirit. And today, as we dive into this episode, we're going to have you think about something in a little different way. Do you really have ADD or ADHD, or are you needing some grounding? So, we're going to talk all about grounding today. It's going to be a great episode. So, make sure you stay tuned in till the very end. But first, we are going to just get ourselves grounded and do a little work with Tina. So, if you will lead us in that, that would be fabulous.
Okay. Today I have a little spray I'm going to,
I actually do too.
clearing spray.
Can I share? I gotta share mine because this is just too funny. It's bitch be gone spray. And I do definitely spray myself more than anything else with it. I'm like, oh man, I have got to clear my own energy because damn. It's just fun.
I love that.
Definitely speaks Tanya.
I love that. Okay, so go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. And imagine that you have roots growing from the base of your spine and the bottom of your feet. And allow those roots to grow down through the floor, down into the earth, down deep into Mother Earth. Allow those roots to spread out and help you be stable as we connect with Mother Earth. And with those roots, if you have any anxieties or stress, just go ahead and release those down those roots and ask Mother Earth to recycle those for you. I want you to call back any energies that you have sent out. Just imagine those pieces of energy coming back to you. And take a deep breath in. Go ahead and open your eyes. Allow yourself to be grounded.
Ah, thank you. I actually, well, I have a really vivid imagination. And for some reason, when I sit with you, I feel like it flares up. It's even more like on point. But when you were talking about calling in those parts of you, I actually pictured like the ravens coming back, like
Oh,
bringing and leading those parts back.
uh-huh.
And it made me think of, because that is Odin has, I think it's, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but like Hunin and Munin, or anyway, he's got two ravens that would bring back the messages. So they would
Oh,
go out and fly across the earth and gather the wisdom and information from all the different things and then basically come back and share the messages with Odin. So I was like, oh, that's so interesting. We have those parts and pieces of ourselves that are out there. And I was like, what if they're gathering wisdom to come back and share that with us? So
ah, that's a
welcome to
good
welcome to my world.
perspective. I love that perspective. I love that reflection. That's
hmm
cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like I could see them like leading those parts back, and it was like full of wisdom and messages, and also like cleansed and transformed.
Mhm.
So
Sweet.
kind of fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes I love the way my mind works. So I love that we started this with grounding, with sending our roots down. I think it is something that we often overlook. And I know for myself, when I get going, doing, getting caught up in the rat race of life, that I can get ungrounded very easily and quickly. And so, what is grounding? Maybe we should just start with what is grounding and what the importance of it.
So there's like two types of grounding, probably more than that, but two right off the top of my head. What we just did, an energetic grounding, which is kind of helping us to energetically connect to the earth. And so we do that, and that just helps us to, it's basically just coming back into our body. Sometimes there, many of us live our lives up above our body. So our spirit or our soul or whatever seems to be floating above our body or outside of our body a little bit. And that is that feeling when we're scattered or whatever. And so it kind of helps us to come back into our body. And then there's the other type of grounding where you're actually putting your bare feet on the ground, and it helps to, but we're electrical beings, right? So it's helping us to like uh, dissolve or to discharge. That's the word I'm trying to think of. Discharge that electricity into the earth. And so the earth has that grounding properties where we can just connect, and it helps with us, with so much. Um, so yeah, to me, that's what grounding is. What about
Mhm.
you? Yeah, any more thoughts on that?
No, I think I mean, you totally nailed it. And I think it's so important because so one thing that you mentioned was being kind of living up here and living outside of ourselves. And I think that can happen in a lot of different ways. But I think of people who have had severe trauma and who have become disassociated. It is almost like, I mean, it's think about getting kicked in the stomach and having that air, or maybe you fall. It doesn't have to be a kick, but like that stomach impact and how it knocks the wind out of us a little bit. And I remember talking with a friend one time who had a theory that as trauma happens to us, it's almost like that spirit kind of like steps out of the way so it doesn't receive the physical damage as well. And we use it in phrases where we say, I was beside myself, or, like we have had experiences with things like that, or almost like we could see ourselves. Like I have experiences where I could actually almost like see myself as if I was like right up here. So I think sometimes those things can actually happen where we're a little bit outside or not totally disconnected. It's not like we're disconnected, but there's, for whatever reason, a little bit of duality. Like we have our physical self and then we have our energetic self, and we're most healthy when all of those are in alignment and connected. But times where something's going on where maybe we are a little off and we need to get recentered, and that grounding is what, like you were saying, it sends that energy. It like the magnets, right? They
Right.
can, even when you've got the magnets, like you can tell when they start to kind of pull, and there's a little resistance still, but then eventually they'll just kind of click together. And I just feel like there's some of that really sets things straight with grounding. And I think the important thing is we don't have to try. We don't have to do, like, so many times we do so much work to try to figure out what's wrong and what's going on, when really we need to go put our feet in the grass, or we need to do
Right.
a meditation. And it's can really be that simple.
Yeah, I agree. Um, as you were talking about the with the trauma and whatever, and being outside yourself, and there are a lot of us spend a lot of time out of touch with our body, right? So we don't know what's going on in our bodies. So if like for me, I feel everything I feel. It's like for me, feeling is the thing. And some people don't even know what gratitude feels like in their body, or what grounding even, feels like in their body, or how it feels to be um even joyful or whatever. What does my body feel like when I'm joyful? So when we can start connecting with the earth, so the two things, energetically connecting with the earth and the going outside and putting our feet in the ground, those two things I think really help us to start to move into our bodies. And then we have to be intentional in connecting with, those feelings and what's going on in our bodies.
Mhm.
Some people, I know people who don't even, can't even tell the pain, like they have pain in their stomach or whatever, and they're not, it's like they're disconnected, so they don't really understand, or don't know that there's that much pain or whatever, you know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Mhm.
So anyway, like you said, I think it can be simple, and it helps us to bring us back into our bodies when we do these grounding, like what we do every time we start these videos.
Mhm.
These little grounding exercises help us bring our spirit or soul or whatever,
Mhm.
that energetic body, back into our body.
Mhm.
And then when we can go outside, it's like another level.
Mhm. I think it's important to point out too that if you are not grounded, it doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. It doesn't mean that you're broken or there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean that, to me, it's not, it is just something that happens. It's just life, right? Because we live in a physical world, a mental world, a spiritual world. We have all these things, and not everything is always in alignment because welcome to being human, right?
Right.
But I think it's important to not like think we're doing something wrong and beat ourselves up. It's more about learning to recognize, and I think we can cover that in a second, but just really reiterating that this isn't a result of, our parents not parenting us correctly. It's not a trauma response. I mean, it can within reason, but I mean, it doesn't have to come with all of that. It is just something that naturally occurs within every single human on the planet, and probably animals too. I mean, there's times where I know my dogs are not grounded. So, like little things like that. And so just not to put a meaning on it, not to put a label on it, not to put an anger or a blame. Um, this wasn't something that I learned growing up, but I also recognize that the people who raised me didn't have this information either. So maybe it's a practice that has been lost a little bit, but the beauty of it is it just like this, like learn what we're going to teach you in this video and you can apply it right now today. It doesn't take effort. There's no weightlifting involved. It is literally just application of what you're going to learn today. So I really think that's important to just kind of bring that in as well.
Yeah, thank you for that, because yeah, it definitely is. I'm like you. I wasn't raised knowing these things, and I've learned them as I've gotten older. And you know, it's not something that's, you're not wrong because you're not grounded.
Mhm.
So like you said, don't put a label on it. And
And I
it
don't
is it
think,
is what it is.
right. And I don't think that it leads you necessarily to make, I mean, I was going to say to make poor choices. I mean, I guess if we're not grounded, we may not be making choices in our best interest, but this isn't where we go out and cause destruction or whatever. It is just a little bit of like internal chaos, a little bit more, or an unsurety. Like there's importance in getting grounded before you're making big decisions and whatnot, but it's not like a trauma response that leads to overspending or something. It's nothing like that. So I just wanted to kind of put that into
Yeah,
perspective a little bit.
right.
So do you
Sometimes
have,
being ungrounded
oh,
leads to me overeating,
mhm.
or
Well, and that's
eating
what
the
I was
wrong
going to
food.
ask. Yeah. Is do you have like some telltale signs of what it is like to, what it feels like, what it looks like in you to not be grounded? So overeating is one. That's one for me too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
or eating the wrong foods, just going
Mhm.
mindlessly to the fridge.
Mhm.
I think my biggest thing is I get scatterbrained, or I get like, I'll be doing one thing, okay, I'll go in and I'll turn the stove on and walk back to my bedroom and start getting ready and forget that the stove is even on. I've done that I don't know how many times. Like, the pans burn. I come in and there's smoke on the pan, and it's like those types of things where I'm like not totally thinking about everything I'm doing. Pouring your coffee, and then leaving it sitting there and walking off and, forgetting that you poured the coffee. Or and for me it's kind of like I get manic sometimes. I'll be like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I got to do this, I got to, and I'm in a, it's almost like I feel like ADD. My daughter has ADD, and when I first recognized that I was doing this, I was like, I called her up and I'm like, oh my God, now I know where you got the ADD from. But I feel like I don't know that that's what I have, but that's how it feels. It's like I can't um focus on one thing. It's like I'm trying to do this thing and then I'm jumping over to this thing and not finishing any of it. Just jump, jump, jump. The other thing that happens to me is it's either the manic ADD, blah blah blah, or it's like I can't even think.
Can't complete the sentence.
It's like I don't even know what where I am, what I'm doing at the time.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. I have a lot of those as well. There's a lot of similarities I have that it comes through with me also. And I think for me specifically, it is, I notice it more when I'm having conversations with people because that is, I mean, that is my love language. Like, let's have deep, meaningful conversations. And if I'm in a spot where I can't actually focus on you and what you're saying, what you're talking about, and my thoughts are interrupting listening to you or that conversational flow, that is a sign for me that I'm not grounded. And yeah, I do have people who would say that's ADD or ADHD or I don't know, whatever. I've not had a diagnosis. I actually don't need or want one. I don't care. This is who I
mhm,
am. But I recognize, like I'll be having a conversation with someone in my family or whatever, and my thoughts are continually coming out of the conversation. And that is not, I mean, okay, I'm not saying it's not normal, but it's not normal for me because I mean, projector style, right? Like I can get so hyper focused on this
mhm.
person that it can actually be uncomfortable for them because it feels like they're in the hot seat because that is my depth. Like that is what I love. And so when I'm not in that space, I used to really beat myself up for that and wonder what was going on and what was wrong with me and why I couldn't like I value this person. Why can't I even just sit down and have a conversation with them or whatever? And then I have since learned it is grounding. It is that simple. Um, I was trying to think if there were other things for me. I do definitely do like mindless. It's mindlessness.
Mindless. Yeah.
So anything I'm doing that is mindless is very much me not being grounded.
Mhm.
So I do grazing sometimes when I'm on the phone at home and I'm wandering through my house talking on the phone. I find myself grazing and I really have to, I've caught myself quite a bit like that. And so I'm like, okay, if I'm going to wander, I need to go outside so that I'm not just eating all the crap that I can possibly get my hands on. Um, and even like if I'm especially if I'm stressed, I feel like I become less grounded when I'm stressed because I'm out of flow and I'm trying so hard to make this thing work and it's got to look like this. And as a result, my mind is like all over the place. And that stress, when I feel stress, I know that that is one of the things I need to do is a grounding meditation or get my feet in the grass. Um, so those are some of the things that I know I definitely recognize for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I notice we're both very similar. So, yeah, definitely a lot of that.
So you mentioned and we went through a grounding meditation and also putting your feet in the grass. What are some other ways that you can think of? Because I know there's so many, but what are some other ways you can think of for practices.
Yeah. For me, hugging a tree or getting by some water. Those negative ions from the water actually is very grounding. If you can
Hmm.
put your feet in the water. I mean, even taking a bath, um, or, a salt bath but water is like, very grounding. Um, just being out in nature. Or I mean, if you don't live in the city, just being outside sometimes if you can find a little tree on the street, touch the
Hmm.
tree or whatever, um, that is good. But always when you're doing putting your feet on the ground, try to make sure you're barefoot, and no socks or anything, and put your feet right on the ground because that really helps a lot. Um, what else? I'm trying to think. There's, a lot of different ways. Those are my favorites is,
Hmm.
going sitting by a tree
Yeah.
or
I
by the
did that
water.
yesterday on a walk. I was just I had really great inspiration ideas of things I wanted to do. So I'm on this walk and I I waited till I got to a churchyard and they have all these beautiful trees and I actually went up
Mhm.
and put my hand on the tree and I was talking to the tree because I do because we're friends. I'm like, hey tree,
Yep.
thank you for being here and lending me your shade in this beautiful space and your loving energy and whatever. And so that is definitely one of the things that I love too. And it's interesting to me as well with because I never grew up barefoot. Like I was always I mean, I think when I was little, because I used to, I mean, if you were looking for me, I was in the dirt. I was out by the horses. We were like, I was always
Yeah.
filthy and loved it. Um, but once I passed those younger years and headed into teenager, you'd never catch me without socks and shoes and even flip-flops or something, but there's always something on the bottom of my feet until even just last summer was the first time
Mhm.
I ever really started kicking my shoes off and putting my feet in the grass. And now I make it a habit, especially in the summer, because winter's stupid. So in
Yeah.
the
I
summer,
know.
I know.
I
So I
struggle with
do.
it.
Yeah. And I love to go sit outside on the grass and have coffee with my cat in the morning. Like that's one of my favorite things to do is just go outside and enjoy that grounding in grass. And then some of the things that you mentioned too was like a salt bath and even different things we do with our food, like having grounding type foods, like adding a
Mhm.
good mineral salt to your food, like the real salt or something like that. That can be very grounding. Putting some in your water, anything that's
Mhm.
giving you some of those minerals that's coming from the earth, vegetables, like potatoes and those root vegetables can also be very grounding. So if you feel really, it's like your root chakra
Right.
stuff, right? So, I mean, I'm looking, I've got several different crystals here that are very dark, rooty color crystals that would also help grounding. And it's really just, I think a lot of it is that intention. It is, do I feel like I'm not grounded? Am I recognizing I'm a little more flighty? Is it harder to grasp those thoughts? And it's like, okay, so support that root chakra as well. Wear black, wear dark brown, wear those deep colors, carry those crystals that will help with that as well. And just being able to add that into your practice. It's so easy to throw one in a pocket or bracelets or, whatever that
Right.
can really help you stay grounded.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you sit right on the ground when you're drinking your coffee. I sit in a chair and put my feet on there. But there's other stuff too that you can use is like you can get a grounding mat, you can get grounding sheets, and they help, release that um electricity in our bodies so that it helps to those things I've heard. I haven't tried them and I keep wanting to try them,
Hmm.
but I have a teacher who is like she swears by those things, and they are um supposed to be really helpful in pain management and all the things, which grounding is really good for it's just good for you, period. But it's good for, it can be good for pain management. It can be good for um, your sense of well-being, just, like your emotional, um, your mind, everything. I mean, it's just like when we're connecting with the earth, it just, we are part of the earth, so
Mm-hmm.
have to be, it's like we have the same elements as the earth in our body.
Mm-hmm.
And that's by connecting with Mother Earth, it
Mm-hmm.
really is beneficial to us.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it goes, I mean, clear back to, where do we go when we die? We go back to the earth.
Hmm.
I mean, there's very much a lot of symbolism in there, but there's a lot of truth.
Right.
And I do, I think too that we just forget the value in something so simple. We're complex beings. Life is complex, and we have a tendency to make things complex. And as much as I love all these ideas, I also remember times where I didn't feel grounded, and I was in a building, an office building. I couldn't step outside, couldn't whatever. I mean, yeah, you can go to a window, but what if you're getting ready to present in front of a crowd? Because that
Hmm.
is something that I do, is public speaking. And it's like, I mean, now I wear my crystals, and I have practices, but at the time
Yeah.
I did not. But even connecting to your breath, like your breath can be so grounding, taking a couple of deep inhales with, and I think it's really important to have that thought of, I am grounded. I am
Hmm.
here, like I am connected to the earth, and just really having, I truly believe in the power of intention.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would love every day to be able to go put my feet in a river, but I don't live by one. It's going to take me a minute to get there, and I don't quite have the time. So,
Right.
or even a bath. I don't have time to
Hmm.
do that every day, nor do I necessarily want to, but just to be able to, just in that moment, that breath. And even I'm in a building right now. I just, what you did, we could imagine ourselves putting those roots down. So even if you can't physically get to a space where you can be in nature, you can like mentally do that
Hmm.
grounding and send those roots down. And I have physically felt that before doing those meditations, where it's like imagining the roots going through my sit bones, and I can physically, like, almost feel heavy, like the
Yep.
weight of my body. I'm feeling it right now as I'm
Yeah.
talking about it. It's like, yep, we are grounded, we are rooted, we are solid. And
Yeah.
I think, thinking of why that's so important, is feeling solid. Like, that is what we want, is to feel solid. We want to feel solid, and like, that's what self-confidence is, right? We want to be more confident, we want to feel it. We want to feel it in the direction, we want to feel it in our purpose, we want to feel it in our spirituality. Like, we want to feel solid. We want to feel rooted in our belief system.
Right. Right.
And that is why, this is part of why this is so important, is that that is a core feeling that we want. We want to feel rooted and grounded and solid in our relationships. And this is how we do it, is, I say, physically grounding with that.
Hmm. Yeah. I love that. And that's perfect.
Hmm.
I feel like when you were talking about that, that's, that heavy, the grounded feeling. I can't, you can be overgrounded because I am one of those that's always grounded. And with our root chakra, it can be, you have to have a balance,
Yep.
you know. Um, and so you can be, so just remember that you can be overgrounded. And I don't know a whole lot about how to move out of that because I am like solidly grounded most of the time. I do connect a lot with my creator and try to open up the crown chakra too, so that I have both, both connections. But yeah, there's, you know, I guess the yin and yang, we have to
Hmm.
remember that we want to try and keep a balance too, and not become overly grounded, but also not be living over, above our body.
Hmm.
So.
So what would be some, like, I guess I would call it symptoms or signs of being overly grounded? Like what do you notice for you?
For me, well, it's the not feeling secure. Well, actually, I guess it is kind of a over secure. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe almost like a
Almost
living
like
in
a,
fantasy almost.
yeah, because you feel like you're overly secure, or feeling like, and for me, there's that, when I'm ungrounded, I'm eating. It's not so much overeating, it's I'm mindlessly eating.
Oh,
When I'm overly grounded, I'm overeating. I'm eating too much of all the things, or I'm feeling almost like a lump on a log. I mean, it's like I don't have the energy to go do the things that I know I need to do, basically.
mhm.
I mean, I'm just kind of feeling myself, and it's like heavy, a heavy
Like the
feeling.
tired, heavy fatigue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like if you think about, like, if we're rooted and we have these cinder blocks of cement on our feet or attached to our
yeah.
like ball and chain kind of a thing,
Right,
then it's
right.
really hard to get up and find that motivation to
Hmm.
move and to go and to do. And so that would probably be a good sign of an imbalance in that
Right.
overly grounded, too heavy of a root chakra. Lighten that
Hmm.
up a little bit, start eating a few more light colored foods and
Right.
a little less rooted veggies, a little more leafy greens or whatever to
Yeah,
the table.
yeah.
I'm trying to think for me what that would look like as far as being overly grounded. And I think it would be too caught up in the physical plane, too
Yes.
worried about how am I going to make money? Um, is this job secure? I don't know, like whatever that may be,
Yeah.
because that root chakra is very much about safety and security. And
Hmm.
so it is about those basic needs. So an over concern of where am I gonna is the money gonna come in, is like those types of things would have me being too, like, the overly unbalanced on that other
Yeah.
extreme.
Yep.
And I think for me, one of the ways that I would naturally try to come out of that would be to tap into the I was gonna say intuition. It is intuitive, but I mean more the creativity,
Hmm.
where we bring it up at just one level, bring it up to the sacral, from the root
Hmm.
to the sacral, where all creation exists, right? That's our womb.
Hmm.
And so it's really using our creativity to solve the problems, or just get out of our head, or, well, root, but you know what I mean? Like, get out of
Yep.
that physical plane. I know that that was something that you and I actually talked about yesterday, is you're
Hmm.
creating more.
Yeah.
And we were saying, we're like, I recognize I need more time in that creation mode where it's not business mode, it's not parenting mode, it's just play. So that can be a really great way to help when we're too heavy in that. It's play,
Hmm.
right? It's
Yep.
creativity and play when we're too heavy.
Hmm. Yeah, totally.
Mhm.
And that's perfect because, um, yeah, I don't have any more to say on that.
I do want to add one thing, because I'm going to actually link this in the comment or in the description of the video, because I just loved it. I watched this reel this morning, and this guy was talking about the trees. And I was like, oh my gosh, we are like trees, which speaks to my soul because I love all the trees. Um, but he really talked about the way that trees grow. And it said when a tree seed goes into the ground, it's in this dark place, completely like no sunshine. It is buried, it is dark. And it first starts to grow roots. And it has to grow roots into the ground first, and it has a lot of resistance. It's got to push down through the dirt, through the debris, through whatever's beneath it. And so it's got this resistance as it's growing down. And then eventually it will peek up through this earth, and then it grows simultaneously. So it's growing up and down at the same time. But the key thing that he talked about is it cannot, like, once it's up into the light and it's growing in the light, there's no resistance. It is literally the sky is the limit. It can go, 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 go as high as it can, but it's growing simultaneously and it cannot reach the light until it grows into the dirt. And I'm like, that is shadow work 101. Like, I really resonated with that. I'm like, oh my gosh, as humans, we're trees. I mean, we kind of are,
Mhm.
because we need to be able to go deep into our own roots, get grounded into who we are, um, embrace and know that that shadow is part of what is necessary. That darkness, that uncomfortable, the resistance is all part of what we grow through to be able to peek through the surface and really skyrocket into whatever we can get. And I just, oh, like I watched it once and I'm like, that stuck with me. So,
I
and I
love
just,
that.
yeah, me too. And just thinking of every time we intentionally ground, we are strengthening those roots within us, and it's
Mhm.
becoming more of that muscle memory. And it, you know, instead of like continuing to mindlessly go about the not grounded activities that we do, we're like, oh, I know what this is. This is me not being grounded. Okay. Quick meditation, go put my feet outside, return to my breath, do all these things we've talked about. Okay, I feel better now. Now I can go back into that conversation. Now I can sit down and do the work I need to do. I think it's
Right.
just so beautiful that we do have to recognize when we're out of sorts,
Mhm.
and call it what it is too. It's
Yeah.
just, I'm not grounded.
Yeah. I agree. I love that. I so with the as you were talking, I was thinking about with the grounding, with the putting our feet on the ground. Um even just, 10 minutes a day. If you can find that time to go outside and just put your feet on the ground for 10 minutes a day, you know, you would you see a difference.
Mhm.
And I know I do. I know I have when I first started doing that consistently, because I kind of grew up, I was like you, I grew up in the dirt. I didn't wasn't barefoot a lot, but I spent a lot of time in the water. I spent a lot of time in the river. I spent a lot of time outside, and all my growing up and my younger adult years, But I know when I started just taking that time in the mornings after my walk, or when I wanted, to sit down and drink my coffee, and just taking my socks off and putting my feet right on the ground for about 10 minutes, and just setting the phone aside, just because we don't want those EMFs, there either too. So setting the phone aside and just sitting there with your feet on the ground, and just in allowing yourself to um connect, or to discharge that energy, that electricity in our bodies. It really can benefit. It can, help. It helps me emotionally
Mm.
more than it helps me. I see the difference emotionally. um I know that it's helping me in all these other different ways, but emotionally is the place where I see it for me. And
I love
so
that you said that. Oh, go ahead. Were you?
I was just going to challenge everybody to take that 10 minutes, 5 minutes if you can't do 10, and just put your feet on the ground
Mhm.
for, for a week, one every day,
Mhm.
and see if it changes anything.
Mhm. And if you're tenderfoot and you're like, "Oh, it will hurt," then just stand in the same place and don't walk. You'll be fine.
Don't
Get
walk.
over
Yes.
it. Um, I love what you brought up about the emotions, because I jumped to human design for a minute. So you have a defined solar plexus and mine is open. So everything that you talk about with emotions makes so much sense to me. It is feeling like that is your authority. You're going to feel all the things. And for me, mine's open. So yes, of course I still have feelings. I still have emotions. I still have all that, but I pick up a lot from everybody else. I'm an open center. That is the whole purpose of that. And I hadn't even thought about it until you mentioned it, but grounding is definitely one of the things I do when I can release that. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like I visually just release it into the earth to transmute it, to transform, to basically clean it, like take all this shit and wash it all up, make it look pretty and return it back to wherever it needs to go, right?
Right.
But it's a good way for me because that's one thing, as humans we just take on so much of other people's stuff, whatever it may be. And so this can be a good way to be able to send anything that isn't yours into the water, into the salt, into the earth, into whatever it may be, and just using that, like that electrical pull, to help rid yourself of all of the energies that you've picked up in
Right.
just being human, um,
Right.
from other people that's not there to serve you and stuff as well. So whether it be negativity or, anything that it may be, just returning, shedding anything that isn't mine, sending it to the earth, allowing it to go through. And that grounding practice is a perfect time to do that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
So,
I agree.
all right. I think we've covered a ton. Is there anything else that you think we have maybe missed?
Uh,
I think
Not that
we
I can
got
think of right now. I'll probably think of something
it.
afterwards.
I know, right? Yeah, we're good. I feel like we've made it. It's complete. So,
Yeah.
with that, if this has been helpful for you, please help us by sharing this with people. Share it on social media, share it in an email with a friend, but make sure you like and subscribe so that we can help spread this message a little easier. Anytime you hit that like button, it actually helps us. So, please do so, and comment below. We would love to know if we missed a practice or something that you do. Tell us in the comments. We would love to be able to interact in there too and get more ideas. So,
Yeah.
with that, we will say goodbye.